What's going on? This is the Too Tall Sports Podcast, and we are going to kick this off with my 2 cents segment. I usually try to come up with something big or, any big topics from the past week that I want to really hit on and kind of spend some time with like an opening monologue on. Nothing too crazy the past week. However, the big stuff that happened was, I'm going to argue, was the college football playoff rankings did come out, and the matchups are set for the Final Four, among other bowl games. I was going to go over those. I will quickly mention with the MLB lockout that just happened. So if you guys didn't see, Major League Baseball, the collective bargaining agreement just expired. So the season is locked out as of right now, meaning there will be a work stoppage at the moment. They have until the end of March to figure this out, both sides, the players and the owners, to get a new collective bargaining agreement in place, figure out that whole CBA thing, and we'll get back on the field and everything's fine. I don't think this will be a long layoff, or at least, time off from baseball, because a lot of teams were signing big money contracts right before this thing expired. It was almost like, all right, let's just make sure we get our guys. We'll figure out the CBA and then the season will be fine. So it doesn't seem like they're going to be off for too long, but I will say, the players always want things that matter to them and the owners don't want to give. That's usually the case. One of them being, some of these teams have control over players for the first 7 years of their big league experience, and then they become free agents and do whatever they want. Even after the first 3 years, they got to go through arbitration, and then they're fighting against their own club to see what their value is. I think the players want more money earlier because it's tough to get to a 7th year of free agency. It just is. Baseball is, you don't want to talk about the toughest thing to do, especially hitters, man. It's a humbling sport and you fail a lot. So I don't like the owners have 7 years to do whatever they want with a player and don't have to commit unless you're a phenom like Tatis, or a Mike Trout, where they commit to you early with big money. A lot of these guys don't get that, man. Those are the 1%ers. So long story short, I don't think the layoff and work stoppage will be forever. I think the lockout will not be that long in Major League Baseball. I hope, right? So they figure this out, and hopefully the players get what they want. I'm always going to side with the players, as I am a former minor league baseball player. Plenty to do on the minor league side. You guys know that very well. When you get paid peanuts to play a professional sport and the accommodations are terrible, we got to do better there. So hopefully some of that gets addressed as well during this lockout. But I think it should be hopefully quick. I did want to talk about the bowl game. So, big weekend in college football this past weekend. Alabama just absolutely crushed Georgia. I was really rooting for Georgia. Like, they've been dominant the whole year. They haven't given up more than 17 points all season. That's how dominant that defense was until they ran into Bryce Young and that Alabama offense. Nick Saban knows his assistants well, man. A guy like Kirby Smart used to coach at Alabama with him. He's the head coach at Georgia. And they crushed them, man. It's just like, here we go again. Same old Alabama. When it really matters, they show up. And they're going to draw Cincinnati, who I was happy to see get in. Do I think they have a chance against Alabama? No. As of right now, they're a 14-point underdog to Alabama. Cincinnati is 13-0. They did beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They have a quality win there, but Notre Dame isn't Alabama. So I do expect Alabama to roll on Cincinnati. The other big game of the weekend was Michigan stomping Iowa. That was a statement game for them. They could not afford to lose that game. Huge win for Michigan. They're in the Final Four. They're going to be the 2 seed, and they are going to draw Georgia in the Orange Bowl. That is on December 31st, New Year's Eve. Both of those Final Four games are on New Year's Eve. Georgia's favored by a touchdown and a half, 7.5. I expect Georgia to win. They've been dominant all year. Michigan doesn't have the athletes that Alabama does. I would hope Georgia cruises and Georgia will get a rematch against Alabama in the national title game. That's what I would like to see. The Orange Bowl is in Florida, so, probably a little closer to Georgia there for these Michigan fans to travel. So I think it'll be more of a home game for Georgia. But with these bowl games, you just never know. I expect Georgia to win, though. They've been dominant all year. Notre Dame is going to play Oklahoma State. So Notre Dame stayed at the 5. They're going to have a big matchup with Oklahoma State. Notre Dame off the top opened up at a 2.5-point favorite over Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State lost a tough Big 12 championship to Baylor. They probably should have won that game. So Notre Dame also doesn't play well in prime time. They never have. However, They lost their coach, Brian Kelly, down to LSU. And Marcus Freeman, the D coordinator, is going to take over. Seemed like there's a lot of hype around him. He's a young guy. I think he's 35 years old. So maybe Notre Dame rallies around him. If I had to put money on it, this is a tough call because this is going to be a close game. I'd like to say Notre Dame will win. However, like I said, they don't play well in prime time. So wouldn't surprise me if Oklahoma State wins. I don't know the answer to this one. So Baylor's going to play Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. I think that'll be a really fun game. Baylor's only a 1.5 favorite in that game. It's the Sugar Bowl, and that game is going to be played down in New Orleans in Louisiana. So I think Baylor, like I said, they snuck out one. They are number 7 in the country, but they snuck out that Big 12 championship against Oklahoma State. Ole Miss they're tricky, man. They're a good team. They're 10-2. Baylor's 11-2. I do like Baylor to win, but I think it'll be a fun game. So lots of good bowl games coming up. We got to wait for a lot of these till New Year's Eve and New Year's, but it should be a good bowl season. There's some good matchups there. Ohio State should stomp Utah. I don't see much of a matchup there. Ohio State opened up at a 6.5-point favorite. I like Ohio State to beat Utah. Utah did just beat Oregon for the Pac-12 championship, but not really. Oregon clearly is not as impressive as we thought. So I like Ohio State to roll there. Lots of NFL action happened, this past weekend. Ugly game in Buffalo the other night with the Patriots. Mac Jones only threw 3 passes for the Patriots. 3. That's it. And the Patriots ran all over the Bills in Buffalo in the snow. And the Bills keep sliding. They're 3-5, and I think in their last 8, now they're 7-5 overall. You can't keep losing these games. You got some hot teams like Miami. You got the Chargers. You got Raiders. You got the Chiefs. There are teams that are going to start to creep up here toward the end of the season. The Bills keep sliding. Maybe they're not as good as we thought. They're very Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs combination dependent. They can't run the ball. Their defense is great. They only gave up 14 points, and a few of those were field goals. So the Buffalo offense just needs to step up and try to make something happen here. New England's hot, 6 in a row. Belichick did. I mean, this is the Bill Belichick, right? He gave you one down year without Brady, and look what they did within 1 year. They figured it out. They got their quarterback of the future. The defense is playing crazy. They're lights out. Watch out for this New England team. They win different. They can win differently. A lot of teams are stuck in winning one way. Tell you what, Belichick and Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, they can win multiple ways. So look out for New England down the stretch. Anyway, enjoy my interview with Evan from Colorcast. He is the CEO. So I'll give you a little intro on that coming up. But thank you for listening to my 2 cent segment. Hopefully you got something out of it. As always, hit me up at Too Tall Sports Podcast. And let's get the intro for Evan Kirkham. What's going on? Welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Podcast. My name is Brett Lauren, your host. Thank you for joining me today. Got a very fun interview with the CEO and co-founder of Colorcast. His name is Evan Kirkham. As you guys know, I do a weekly show Tuesday nights on Colorcast app. It's an audio platform, so you literally can broadcast from anywhere. Anybody from their couch can broadcast games and have talk shows directly from your phone on the Colorcast app. Every Tuesday night, 7:30 Pacific time, I have a show called Too Tall Sports on Colorcast. So you can check me out there. It's a lot like Clubhouse or Spotify Green Room, if you guys have heard of those audio-based apps, but this is just sports and opinions and fun and debate and all that stuff. So my interviews with Evan Kirkham, the CEO of Colorcast, really fun interview. You can tell this guy, he breathes it, eats it, sleeps it, and he's passionate. So it's a lot of fun, good talking to Evan. He's a huge Cowboy fan as well, so we address those guys down in Texas, good old Texas. But anyway, yeah, had a lot of fun with this one. I think you guys will really enjoy it. As always, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. I do a lot of video content there. Check me out, like it, share it, all that stuff. On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. You can also follow me on YouTube. So you go ahead and check out the interviews. If you want to watch us from our Zoom interviews, you can watch the interviews on YouTube. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. You can find me there. And please subscribe and hit the bell notification to get notified every time we drop an episode, which is every Thursday morning, early usually. So I'm starting to make the YouTubes a little earlier in the morning, much like the audio, which is a good transition over to our Apple and Spotify channels, which we both have you can just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast there. If you're on Apple, Please, if you haven't already, scroll down, hit the 5 stars if you haven't done so, and leave a comment below the stars on my main page of the Apple Podcast app on Too Tall Sports Podcast. If you could hit the 5-star, leave me a review. It helps kind of give us some exposure there, so we'd really love that. And also on Spotify, you can follow me there. I'm on Amazon Music, Google Play, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's TOO, not the number 2, TOO, Tall Sports Podcast. Anyways, glad to have you in again today, and enjoy my episode with the CEO of Colorcast, Evan Kirkham. All right, welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Podcast. My next guest is the CEO and founder of Colorcast. It is an audio platform for anyone to broadcast sports and talk shows, and I also have my own show on this network called Too Tall Sports every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time on Colorcast. And he is here to explain his journey from frustrated Cowboy fan to CEO and co-founder of Colorcast. He is Evan Kirkham. What's going on, Evan?
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Not much, man.
I'll tell you, starting Colorcast has not eased my Cowboys frustration. So let's get that out of the way.
Yes, for sure. We will definitely talk about your Cowboys in a little bit. But glad to have you on. A lot to get to with you about Colorcast and your whole journey to get there. But before we start, just because we just had a recent holiday, how was your Thanksgiving with the family and everything?
It was nice. I actually spent Thanksgiving with my in-laws here in Austin, and I mean, pretty traditional. Watched a bunch of football, ate a bunch of turkey. Little different this year because I also was making sure that everything was up and running on Colorcast. But yeah, it was pretty good stuff.
Good, man. Glad to hear that. And yes, I do know you're a diehard Cowboy fan. So before we get to the current Cowboys, just to start from back in the day, as you've grown up through basically the Jerry Jones tenure and the Romo years, T.O., Dez, all that stuff up to, the new era. What was it like for you growing up a Cowboy fan?
So yes, I'm 30 years old, born in 91. So the whole Cowboys championship era, I was a little too young for it. But I actually grew up, having Emmitt Smith as my hero. He's obviously like a big name in Dallas and is still really active in the community. So I'm a huge Emmitt fan. I sport my Emmitt jersey every Sunday. This is maybe the first of a few hot opinions on this podcast. But I was not a Tony Romo fan the whole time. I didn't love his decision making. I felt like he was anything but clutch. And I much prefer him in the broadcasting booth. So that's I guess that's my opinion on the Cowboys. I feel like they're good today, but they're just inconsistent, and I need to see a playoff win before I'm convinced of anything.
I'm with you there. Yeah, especially what is it called? The muffed snap or the kick that Romo had that he couldn't when he was the holder.
Holding the kick. Oh my gosh. And that was just like endemic of a bunch of things that if you're not a Cowboys fan and you don't tune into every game, you wouldn't see that. But like there was something like that every week with Romo. And anyway, it's over. That era is over.
At least you don't have Jason Garrett anymore.
That's true.
The king of mediocrity.
The absolute king of mediocrity.
Yes. Wow. I'll get back to the current Cowboys a little bit later. So I did see that you live in Austin now, but I couldn't see where you grew up. So where are you originally from and all that?
Yeah, I'm from Flower Mound, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas, about 35 minutes north. So I grew up there, went to Marcus High School in Flower Mound, and did my undergrad at Ole Miss. So my sister went to Ole Miss. I followed her there. I was actually on the debate team there, and I'm also a diehard Rebel at this point.
There you go. Hey, Ole Miss is back on track with Lane Kiffin, man.
Ole Miss is on track. I'm loving it. Matt Corral this season was fantastic. I'm fully on the Lane train.
You know what? He's had a weird career. Like he kind of started at the top and went down, and now he's back on the way up.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's cool. I hope he sticks around. Honestly, that's what I'm most concerned about. But
yeah, with him, you never know. He's a vulture, man. If there's an opportunity, he's gone, dude.
yeah, exactly. So anyway.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about Ole Miss, just because, for those of us that didn't get to go to school there, what was it like with the football games and just being a student there? And obviously you're on the debate team. So how was your experience in college there?
Oh, I loved it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I was actually a little So when I was choosing between schools, I was actually choosing between Alabama and Ole Miss. I would have ended up with a lot more national championships if I went the other direction. But anyway, my debate, who turned out to be my debate coach, her name's Joanne Edwards. She convinced me to come to school there. She ended up kind of being a fantastic mentor for me. And no, my time was great. For a while, I contemplated playing on the hockey team because I grew up playing hockey, but ended up passing on that opportunity. And so spent a lot of time debating, spent a lot of time, honestly, just like, this sounds really lame and awful, but spending doing the frat life and just like getting involved on campus. And, I was the student body attorney general. I ran for senior class president, spent a lot of time in the Grove, watched a lot of football, drank a lot of beer. That's basically it.
It sounds like a hell of a college experience, man.
It was awesome. I loved it. But I'm also not a college hero. Like, the best is to come, in my opinion. So
for sure, man, definitely. And I did see that you went to SMU, Southern Methodist University, to pursue a law degree. But you took a totally different career path from that. So what went into your decision making? Were you dead set on becoming a lawyer? Was that the main goal?
Yeah. So, I mean, because I'd been a debater my whole life through, starting my freshman year of high school. I had always kind of been on the path to be a lawyer. And, my family had been like, push it. But like, they were excited about having the first lawyer in the family. And I was excited about being that. And and even in law school, I was on the moot court team and competed in a bunch of national competitions and all of that. So had a lot of kind of trial and moot court advocacy under my belt. When I graduated, I actually practiced as a securities litigator and general commercial litigator for about 3.5 years. And I enjoyed it. And I was really fortunate. I worked for a law firm that really helped kind of like develop me as a lawyer and as a writer and a thinker, and just the best colleagues. I couldn't have asked for a better experience. But at the end of the day, I was fortunate to be able to take 4 cases to trial in my first 3 years, which most people, even my age, like, still haven't gone to trial. Cases just don't go to trial anymore. And so I was fortunate to do that, because what it kind of showed me is, like, if trial is the Super Bowl of being a lawyer, I didn't really love playing in the Super Bowl. And so for me, I was like, what am I working towards? Like, trial is the end all be all, and I don't really love it. It's honestly just a lot of work for a coin flip. It's a coin flip. And so I got a little bit jaded about that. And I can go more into kind of the startup story, but that was my career as a lawyer, at least.
Sure. I think that's a great analogy about getting to the Super Bowl and feeling like, it's kind of empty when we get here,
Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. I never heard it put like that. So that's awesome. And as the story goes, from what I read about you, within the last few years, you found yourself watching a Cowboys game or a football game, and I think it was Jason Witten was announcing, possibly.
Jason Witten.
Oh man, a beloved Cowboy, right?
Beloved Cowboy. Love Jason Witten.
Maybe not the best in the booth though, which is kind of why he split from that career, right?
Yeah, that's why he came back to the league for a year. So that's. I was watching, and you've done your research. I talk about this kind of founding story all the time, but I was watching a Thursday night football game, and Booger McFarland and Jason Witten were on the call, and I was like, this is just awful. And Jason is like really pissing me off because the dude's a Cowboy. He, I wish he would have some enthusiasm for his team, and he just can't. He's like literally not allowed to, right. Because he was broadcasting for ESPN, and so I turned off the TV. And the big kind of assumption that's behind Colorcast, and it's still an assumption we're testing today, although I think we're early. I like to say we're in the bottom of the first inning, but I feel like we've sort of proven it, is that sports consumption habits track news consumption habits, and that people want to tune into their own bias. They want to tune into someone who's enthusiastic about the Cowboys. They don't want unbiased commentary. And so that's sort of where it started, and got my team all jazzed about it, and the rest is kind of history, or is history in the making, I should say.
Exactly, right. Yeah. And I think that's a good point, because it seems like there's a new wave of sports commentary, whether it's Barstool or other, it's more like raw almost, versus just a very polished broadcastery way of doing it.
Correct. And actually, that's a really good point. We have found that the most successful style of content on the app is not like a broadcaster replacement. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to replace the broadcasting booth. Like I said, I think Tony Romo is actually a fantastic broadcaster, we're not looking for a better Tony Romo. And that's not what people that come to our platform are looking for either. What's most successful is what we call so far, and we'll see what happens over the coming weeks and months and years.
Sure.
The most successful style we've seen is what we call the 80-20. It's 20% game, like, wow, CeeDee Lamb's already at 150 yards, or Dak Prescott drops back. So 20% that, 80% other, like, what's going on in the chat? Can I bring someone into my hot seat? What's the rumors around the league? What beer am I drinking? Like that, I like to say it's more Barstool, it's less ESPN.
Yeah.
And we're providing that to people, and that's the content that's really hitting right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally, as they say, the hot word and nowadays on social media is authenticity, right? People want to listen or tune into authenticity, and they want to give their opinions as well. So this gives them a platform to do that too, which is great.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
So it's one thing to have an idea to do something like this. It's another thing to have the technology and the money to put it all together, right? And execute this whole thing. So how do you go from, I don't like listening to Booger and Jason Witten, to I'm going to start a business that involves broadcasting for fans from their couch, from their phone?
Yeah. Well, I'll preface this answer by saying I didn't I was practicing law and I was pulling a good salary, but I didn't put a single dollar of my own money into it. And I didn't have any family connections. It's not like you don't have to be rich to start a business. What you have to do is you have to have a ton of grit, belief in your own idea, and sell until it literally is a reality. And that's exactly what I did. So the moment I turned off that TV that night and I had the idea, I actually openly posted the idea on LinkedIn. I named it Colorcast. I talked about what it'd be, user-generated commentary, etc. Now it's morphed since then, but I had the seed of the idea. I posted it, and that same day, a mutual connection on LinkedIn messaged me and said, "Hey, take that down. Let's get lunch right now." And so, and again, this is a guy I met in law school who I've developed a really great relationship with. But and so that burger lunch date turned into our first $10,000, and it's crazy. Going from $0 to $10,000 is all of a sudden oh my gosh, I'm a steward of someone else's money, for one, and two, now I have resources to do something. So what am I going to do with that $10,000? And for us, it was we got to build a product. So we hired our first engineer, and it showed some progress, sold the story, got another 10,000, showed some progress, sold the story, got another 10,000, and then before you know it, it's actually I'm happy to say we've been in the App Store a year, and it's finally, in some respect, self-propelling. Momentum is everything, and keeping up momentum is the whole game. If you lose momentum, even for a day, you're this thing's dying. And so, I just elbow greased it into existence. And now there are other people working with me. And even if I take a day off, the wheels are still turning, and it's really great. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no background of raising money didn't come from, I didn't grow up on the streets, but I don't really come from money. And, it's just kind of grinded it out, honestly.
So there's lots of legal BS, I'm sure, so how did your lawyer background help you start this whole thing?
Yeah. So actually one of the big insights, and this is a competitive advantage of ours, is that the NFL overstates their rights pretty significantly, as you might imagine.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people hear that disclaimer at the beginning or the end or the middle of the NFL game and think, I could never do something like this. I won't go into all the legal positioning here, but needless to say, they're way overstating their rights. There's no copyright violation, no rebroadcasting. And so I think that the law hasn't necessarily caught up to the technology yet. And I realized that when I started looking into the law. And had I not been a lawyer, I wouldn't have had the comfort of taking that first step. But because I was able to use my legal research skills to distill what the actual law is here, or what I think the law is, I was able to take that first step. So that really helped. And then one thing that's really helped me, and my legal background kind of informed this, is when you're fundraising, or even when you're trying to sell someone, understanding leverage is super important. Like what is my position in this negotiation, and where's the leverage? And being a litigator will teach you that pretty quickly. And so that's been really helpful, especially raising money.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get to that in a second. I was curious about like some of the challenges you guys face as far as like whether it's competition, user count, adding features, all these things that, or anything that comes to mind for you that are some of the big ones that are tough hurdles when you're getting into this world.
Yeah. Okay. So it's actually, I think the biggest challenge for us, and I'll give the silver lining in a second, but I think the biggest challenge for us is actually just focus. So the reality is we've created a social sports talk platform, but it really can move in any direction. Like, for instance, we had people come on and cast The Bachelorette, right?
Okay.
Like, it doesn't just have to be sports. Like, it's just an open microphone. And so the possibilities are really limitless. And so for us, I'm constantly getting flooded with people saying, you should go get this guy to cast, or you should cast this event, or why don't do, like, anytime I'm out at a bar or whatever, and I talk, which I honestly try not to talk about Colorcast now. I'm like getting to that point where I'm like, it's just gonna end up being the whole conversation. I'm just trying to like chill.
Sure.
But when I do,
like, I just need a beer, man. Calm down.
I'm just trying to drink a beer.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is if I do bring it up, and again, I love welcoming like any sort of suggestion, but I do get the same suggestion like 8 million times over. And so for me and for the team, the hardest thing is to like maintain focus. Here are the leagues. Here's what we're trying to do. Here's what we're trying to optimize for. Everything else is noise. And it might be like a really appealing kind of like muse noise, but like it's still, or siren noise, I should say, but it's still noise. And we just need to stay focused. And that's the hardest part for us. And for me too, I love chasing every rabbit, and my team's been really helpful making me not do that. So that's been the hardest challenge. And then also like just tech is hard. Tech breaks.
Sure.
Everyone expects it to be like super, super smooth and perfect. And I think we've done a good job, but like, look, we're not Twitter. Like, I don't have hundreds of engineers on staff. There are four engineers,
Okay.
or three soon to be four. It's like, we've done a good job, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to break. It's just going to break. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. And nowadays people, they have no patience. So if it doesn't work perfectly, it's like, it's hard. What you're doing is difficult, but obviously you're breaking through. And not that I want to ask you too tough of questions, but one of the common questions you probably get is, because I remember asking you this, I think at the beginning, was, hey, basically to the extent of why would people want to listen to a fan broadcast a game versus a professional with graphics and stats and production crews? And that would be the question. Why would someone want to listen to Joe Schmo on his couch broadcast a game? Yeah.
I mean, there are infinite amount of reasons. I'll kind of articulate a few, or at least one. Well, no, I'll do a few. So one is there are things that can be said on Colorcast that can't be said on the national broadcast. So like we have people talking about gambling odds in real time. Like, that's super cool. And people want to be more, whether they're actually being more or less informed is probably up for debate, but like they want to be hearing about it. So we can do things that can't be done on the national broadcast, or for whatever reason aren't being done on the national broadcast. So that's really cool. Beyond that, and I like to use this example all the time, and it sounds like you've done your research, so you probably heard me say this, but like, we had two high school girls come on for the Super Bowl, what we call spontaneous casters. I didn't know they were coming on. They came on, and the whole time they just talked about how hot Tom Brady is, and how they wish like Rob Gronkowski would like take off his pads, and then they sat there and they ordered Panda Express, right? And if you had told me that they were coming on, I'd be like, okay. But by the end of the night, they had 90% of our listenership. So we're still figuring out like what resonates the most. And to be honest, I don't think we'll ever truly know. It's going to be a whole bunch of different things. But the broadcast the national broadcast is never going to be talking about how hot Tom Brady is. They're just not. Right. And they're never going to be ordering Panda Express on air. They're just not. And then another anecdote I'll tell you is like, so we have this is actually one of our investors is here in Texas, but he's a giant Green Bay Packers fan. I actually think he's from Wisconsin. We need to verify, but giant Green Bay Packers fan. And he loves tuning into one of our casters, Steve, the owner, Tate, who is a Green Bay Packers super fan, hasn't missed a game in something stupid like 400 games. Yeah, that's probably too many. 200 games.
Yeah.
And Steve, the owner, the super fan, has that like Wisconsin accent. He knows everything about the Packers, and even though he's unpolished, our investor Dave loves tuning into him because it's like it's so Packers centric, and he feels like he's at a Packers bar, and it's like he's just there's camaraderie, even in like the dialect that it's just really compelling.
Right.
And so there's just 1,000,001 reasons why people want to listen to user generated content rather than a one size fits all.
Sure.
Or not even rather, just like in addition to or alongside or whatever. People want user generated commentary about what they're watching or what, their fantasy or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I think it's definitely going more toward that way. And if we learned anything about politics in the last 4 years, everybody wants to listen to what they want to listen to, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in that situation, it's toxic. For sports, it's like, it's just fun.
Yeah, we're just debating, whatever.
Yeah, it's just more fun.
And I do like just being one of your hosts. I do like that hot seat feature where you can actually, it's not just me talking at people. It's like, if you have an opinion, come on and let's debate. Let's, what I mean? Let's talk about it. I love that.
The hot seat has been a giant breakthrough for us.
Yeah.
If you can see and I'll show them to you, but our user charts, when we brought out multicasting in the hot seat, I mean, that's when we started hitting the real vertical growth.
Yes. Now, I know you just brought in talk shows within the last few months. Is that a big focus for you guys, or do you, and broadcasting too, or how do you see the two working?
I think that both, that's actually a good question. And something that I honestly probably need to think more about. I think that in-game commentary will remain kind of the main focus.
Yeah.
Part of the reason we wanted to do talk shows is because it's really twofold. One is our users are just telling us like, yeah, I love talking about the Cowboys during the Cowboys game, but I want to talk about the Cowboys on Wednesday also. And so we're like, okay, cool, let's give you that opportunity. So that was part of it. The other part is we were trying to solve what we call the random Tuesday problem, which is there are no sports. Well, I guess there's some NBA games, but there are basically no sports on Tuesday.
Sure.
And so like, if people are willing to talk on a random Tuesday morning, like let's get them in there. So that was part of the reason for it too. I'll tell you that in about 2 weeks, we're going to drop a giant update in the app that like reorders the way things look and includes a feature called Hot Takes, which I'm willing to talk about. But
awesome.
It will. Talk shows have been difficult for us because it actually requires manual labor. We literally have people on staff turning on and off the talk shows as they come on. And that's like a ton of labor. All of that will be automated. You can self-schedule, like self-service. So it'll be, we will be scaling talk shows.
Nice. No, that's great, man. I'm happy to be a part of it. It's cool. It gives me a voice as well. I can promote my podcast. No, it's cool. And it's just more of a loose, like you said, it's not so serious and like buttoned up, you can be a little more loose on there.
You can do whatever you want. And then even when you run out of content, then you bring someone onto the hot seat and there's all of a sudden, like you're talking about a totally different topic.
Yes, exactly. I know if you want to, I was going to ask you where you see it going next as far as, things. And I did want to mention, like, for instance, Spotify Green Room is out there. Clubhouse had a run during the pandemic. Everybody was all about Clubhouse, right?
I know.
See, like, is this, how would you differentiate yourself as an audio-based app moving forward and where the platform goes? Yeah.
No, that's a good question, and this is something I've thought like a lot about. And I'll plug here. I've got an article that I wrote on Medium about the difference between social audio and contextual audio, and so you can like dig into my theory on that. But at its most basic, this is our theory or our assumption, really. The social audio space will always remain vertically fragmented. So there is no such thing as general social audio. And to the extent there is, it's like the content's really thin. So what I mean by that is like Clubhouse, they say, oh, we're general social audio. You can talk about whatever you want on here. No, they're not. They are marketing, self-promotion, crypto, VC, self-help, tech. Yeah, they are in a vertical. And whether they want it, believe it or not, they are. And your community defines your vertical. And that was their community, so that's their vertical. right? Same with like LinkedIn. They're bringing out a general social audio. No, it's going to be networking, professional development, seminar, whatever.
Yeah.
That's their vertical. So we saw that trend way early on when they were professing to be general social audio. And our theory was, no. We're going to choose our vertical, sports. We're going to build a really serious community in and around sports. And to support that community, and because we know who we are, we're going to build feature sets in that vertical. Stats, scoreboards, betting odds, like everything you see in app today is sports. So when you're opening the app, you're going to get sports content. That it's where you go to listen and talk about sports. And there's all sorts of supplements in and around that community. So we're building kind of from the community out. Maybe one day there will also be politics or whatever it may be on Colorcast. But we're really just trying to listen to our sports fanatic community and kind of expand that community and the offering that we give that community, rather than saying we do everything and simultaneously nothing very well.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think in sports, everyone wants to talk about sports, right? It's a natural.
Everyone wants to talk about sports.
Yeah. You mentioned investors earlier. I saw recently you guys got a $1.5 million seed, or you had a seed round of $1.5 million from investors recently. So obviously, congrats on that. That's great. What was that like? What's it like pitching to get the investors? And I know you've kind of already talked a lot about it, but what's it like, kind of in a Shark Tank style? I would guess.
Yeah. So it's exactly this. It's a Zoom meeting, just like you and I are having right now. I'm telling the Jason Witten story. I'm telling the Jason Witten story. I'm talking about the progress. I'm talking about the high school girls who talked about Tom Brady. It's very much this. And the way it goes is you take an insane amount of meetings. So I booked, to raise that round, I had no fewer than 500 meetings. And I'm talking like 9 a day. And just like this, just on Zoom, just like this. And it's me standing here talking about Jason Witten. And what happens is you have the first meeting with an associate. If they sign off, they ask to see deeper metrics. Then you have a meeting with the associate and the partner. You give them the same pitch. The partner's like, this is cool. Then they bring in more of the partnership, and I bring in my co-founders. And then the three of us pitch probably 3 or 4 of them. And if they think it's good, which a few of them did, then they give you a term sheet and they say, this is how much we're willing to give you at this valuation. And you sign on the dotted line and they wire the money.
Very cool.
What matters is really volume of meetings, clarity of pitch, and ability to show strength of growth. And we were able to show strength of growth. And that's total credit to our product being really good and our community being really strong. And I've just got to be the mouthpiece for it and put in the effort of getting all the meetings and talking to all those people. And and so we got the money.
That's pretty awesome, man.
That makes it.
Yeah, no, that's reality. That's what it is. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. You're in the bottom of the first for sure. Yeah. I mean, like it's so, you guys are still, I can feel it. You're still really early, but you can kind of see the vision of everything. I did see you've had some big names endorse you guys, like rapper Vic Mensa, and you've had Ryan Shazier on, former Steelers, Ike Taylor, and some others. So what was it like trying to get celebrities and former athletes to come in and join you guys?
Yeah, so that was another thing that was just almost exclusively on my plate. So I mean, it's been really cool. The morale boost that it gives for the team when a big name like Ryan Shazier comes on is really great. Or like, for instance, Vic Mensa is a really great example. Our head of engineering, Matt, is a giant Vic Mensa fan. He's from Chicago, like loves Vic. So to have Vic on the platform and to have like Matt literally getting in the hot seat asking him questions, like just made his month or year or whatever, or life, but made his year, at least made his year. And so so getting that on has just been a really a serious boon to like team morale. But functionally how I got those people on is like, I reach out to an agent who refers me to another agent who refers me to another agent who tries to shake me down for way too much money, who refers me to another agent. And then eventually I'm actually just talking to the talent and negotiating. we have the benefit of, again, having really cool, new creative tech. And so I do think that we got off a lot easier than let's say I was like, I don't know, it's a bad example, but starting like a fast food chain. I would have had to pay those athletes an insane amount of money because like it's lame. Because we're doing something cool, they're like, you know what? I'm along for the ride. Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Let's just give it a go. And I'm like, okay, sweet. Let's do it. So it makes it easier when you're selling something that's fun.
Sure, definitely. And it's nice to get big names to endorse you guys, especially in the beginning, right? Are you thinking, I mean, it'd be great if you could to get some of these athletes or celebrities to have their own shows, or do you really want to keep that focus on fan-centric, anybody can broadcast that whole thing?
Fan-centric, anyone can broadcast that whole thing.
Okay.
The strength, this is not me pandering to whatever person in our community, yourself included, listens. The strength is in the community. It really is. And we can't reliably predict how well those celebrities will do on the app.
Sure.
They're good for downloads. But at the end of the day, like, at the end of the day, the more sustainable growth path is really paying attention to the community, cultivating it and growing that, rather than trying to pay for a quick fix of content.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there, because you want your users are the ones that are going to come back every week, right? You need
Absolutely.
that, right? Yeah, I agree with that. I know it seems like a simple name, but just in general, what made you come up with Colorcast? That's the name we're going to use.
I've never got that question.
Ever?
Actually, never. Literally never.
It's because it seems like it's like, oh, color commentator, broadcast, Colorcast.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I guess it's just like this lightning strike moment. Like literally the moment I had the idea, that Jason Witten moment, like in that same thought, I had the name. So it just kind of all happened all at once. And I don't know. I like it. It's catchy. It's fun.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's just well, I shouldn't say descriptive for copyright reasons, but it's you know what it means when you hear it, and you're like, oh, that's probably something related to color commentary.
Yeah.
And so I like it. But no, I don't know. I could have made something up, but yeah, it literally just popped in my head.
No, it's simple and it works, man.
I liked it.
No, it's great.
So.
Just as far as which stuff does the best, I'm just curious. Like obviously football during the season, it's only 16 now, 17 weeks plus playoffs. Or the big NBA games. Who draws the biggest numbers games wise?
NFL. Yeah. It dominates right now. Our Sunday our what we call our North Star metric, what we're like trying to optimize for and increase week over week, is total number of hours listened on app. It's an evaluation both of like, are listeners coming back? It's evaluation of like, is the content good? And I stuck around the whole time. Total hours listened. And roughly a third of our hours listened per week comes on Sunday. So it's football. And then like a sixth of it comes on Thursday. So it's NFL football. We have seen some good traction with the NBA, and obviously we'll be building that out because football isn't there forever.
Right.
And we've even been seeing good traction with like EPL and MLS and NHL. But yeah, football is that's the Mac Daddy of sports.
For sure. The only problem is it's basically 4 months out of the 12-month year.
Yeah.
So for those other 8 months, you're, NBA, you're hoping, plus, and the baseball, obviously that too. But yeah, I agree with you. That's tough to map out the rest of your year once middle of February hits.
That's exactly right. And even before that, because then it's like, the games are more sparse than like the 17 weeks. I mean, little inside scoop here. So we launched in November, last week of November, first week of December last year. And when we did hit that first February, it's crazy. Like we should have seen it coming, but our numbers fell off a cliff, and the whole team panicked. We were like, "Oh my gosh! Like what happened?" And it's like, it's obviously makes sense. It's the seasonality of it.
Right.
It's the same reason why NBC Sports in the fall has football, and in the spring they have EPL, MLS, NBA, like NHL. March Madness, like all of that is compacted in the spring, is because all of that is about the same size as NFL.
Right.
And so it just took us a minute to get up to speed. We're prepared for it this year, and we're preparing for it. But that was a scary moment where we were like questioning our existence. But we know what to expect this year.
That's awesome. Hey, it's part of the growing pains, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Last couple of questions. As far as competition goes, do you guys really have any competition in this space, do you think?
Yeah, well, no, I actually don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I really don't think so. And I don't exactly know why that is. I think some of those legal concerns we addressed earlier, again, I think that's kind of part of our competitive advantage. I also think that like the people, I don't know. I think that's a big part of it. I don't know if people really understand the market size here, and they maybe they think the market's too small. Not to mention the tech is actually hard. It seems simple enough, but like it's tough.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. I'm not really sure, but the field is actually pretty clear, right? Like cleared off right now, and we're really fortunate for that. And the people who are taking stabs at it, like Facebook and on Twitter and Clubhouse, are again falling into that trap of thinking that they can do general social audio, and I think that I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
Or even if it works, it's not competitive.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
So.
I was just going to ask you now about the current Cowboys and what your thoughts are on this team, just to kind of close out here. And I mean, they're in the NFC least or NFC East, as they say. What do you, I mean, do you think you have a Super Bowl team right now?
If you had asked me after week 4, actually, you wouldn't have had to ask me. I would have come on here saying, we're going to the Super Bowl.
Classic Cowboy fan right there.
I know. Yeah. And classic Cowboy team to like give us all that hope.
I know. Yeah.
We like the offense is good. The receiving core has obviously been banged up. We get CeeDee Lamb back tonight, so that'll be great. I think the offense can get going, and I'm less concerned about that. What I'm most concerned about is our secondary. Yeah, we got Trayvon Diggs, and he looked good, and obviously he went like 7 for 7 on interceptions.
Yeah,
the first 7 games
really hot.
Really hot. But what like even Trayvon included, but the rest of that secondary is just like pretty weak, and we're giving up big plays. Derek Carr's no joke, but big plays to Derek Carr. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
So I'm really worried about the secondary, but it's really the consistency thing. If we get into the playoffs and we win a single game, I'll start feeling way better. But yeah, I don't know. Sorry, more than you asked for. My long-term theory on it is Dak Prescott will get 1 Super Bowl. I think he will get 1 Super Bowl.
I think he's good enough to win one. Also, I'm thinking there's a lot of other factors too. You got the Zeke and Tony Pollard thing going on, and who's, is Tony Pollard really the better back right now at this point?
I'm feeling that way.
A lot of people think that way. Plus, you got Mike McCarthy, who is bad with clock management at the end of quarters and games, right? It's just, is he going to hold you guys back too?
Yeah. Well, you know what's really stopping us right now is freaking Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. As long as Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are in the NFC, they have got our number in playoffs. And so whether this is Aaron's last year or not, I'm honestly not really sure. But when that era is over, the Cowboys will have a better shot.
I think you're right, man. And even if it's like a home game in Dallas, Rodgers can still travel and win. It's
easy.
Yeah.
He's a gamer. That dude knows how to win.
Yes, he does.
So, anyway, that's my theory on it all.
Yeah, no, hey, just want to get your perspective because I know you're a Cowboy fan. So give you a chance to go off there. But anything else we should be on the lookout for with Colorcast? I know you mentioned a few of the things, but anything else you want to get in there?
Yeah, I'll plug it. And I won't go off on like too long a tangent here. On more than likely, I hope I don't eat these words. More than likely, at the end of next week, we are going to, like December 10th-ish, we are going to release what we call Colorcast 3.0. And Colorcast 3.0 is an entire home screen redesign that makes it more navigable. It allows you to schedule casts like way out into the future, where you can literally say, I'm going to do every single Lakers game. And if people go to your profile, they can see that you're going to do that. So there's a lot of cool navigability and scheduling updates. In addition, and this is really, really big, we are putting in what we call hot takes. And this was something that we kind of got from our users, them saying, yeah, I have hot takes about the Cowboys, but I don't have 2.5 hours worth of hot takes.
Sure.
Instead, I have like a 1.5 minute hot take. And so what you'll see in the app, and this will be more clear when it releases, but we have what we call hot take prompts. So a prompt might be, who's going to be the NBA MVP? ? And then under that will be a giant expandable list of people who have given a half a minute to a 3-minute answer on that prompt. It's almost like audio Twitter. So you'll be able to say, oh, I think it's LaMelo Ball, like the dude's carrying the team, blah, 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 blah. And as a listener, you can listen through all of the hot takes and give them fire and rank them and sort them and all of that. So it's we're basically putting an audio sports Twitter in the app. It's actually the first of its kind. Like, it's totally just dreamt up from the team. And I think it's going to be super cool.
I like that, man. I'll be all over that when I get on there.
You should. We're going to need all of your hot takes.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think, yeah. And plus it's an audio-based app. Give them a little snippet of audio, man.
Yeah. Why not? And again, so I know I'm
no, go ahead.
Here, but
go ahead.
What we found, part of the reason we want to do it, one is we heard people saying, look, I want to talk before, during, and after the game, and I don't want to do 30 minutes. I want to do 1 minute. All I have is this one thing to say, and we should give them the platform for that.
Interesting.
So that was one. But then two is, when our retention numbers are really great. If people come in the app 1 week later, there's an over 35% chance they'll come back, which sounds low, but the industry standard is like 11%. So we're doing really well with retention.
Nice.
We do fantastic if they actually hear audio content. Like, over 60% of those people are like, I'm coming back because like that was at least intriguing, or like the concept itself was intriguing. If they don't hit any content, like there's no audio, it could be 2 a.m. There's no audio. There's nothing going on. So if you drop in at 2 a.m. and you don't hit anything, we're losing 90% of those people. And so what we decided is with these hot takes is that content lives forever. It's there at 2 a.m. It's there at 1 a.m. It's there at 10 on a Tuesday, whatever. It always lives. So never more, as of next Friday, never more will you come into the app and not hit content. There will be something there for you to listen to, no matter what. And we're really excited about that and what that'll do for our retention and growth.
I think that's great because you make a great point. Most weekday mornings or weekday till, NBA games don't start till 4 Easterns or,
Exactly.
or I'm sorry, 4 Pacific. So it's like, I agree with you. There's nothing there unless they're watching other sports talk shows or whatever, or listening to other things. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's part of the reason we want to do it, but I'm super stoked about it. Yeah. We'll even roll out a competition about it. So you stay tuned.
All right. I'm ready.
So
that's awesome,
anyway.
man. Well, Evan, it was great to talk to you. Great to get your story, and glad to be a part of the Colorcast family. So congrats on the recent seed round and success. And I wish you all the best moving forward.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for having me on, Brett.
Yeah, for sure. My thanks to Evan Kirkham, and he is the CEO of Colorcast. You can find it in the Apple App Store at Colorcast. Please go check them out if you want to go on and listen. They got all kinds of shows. You can listen to fans broadcast regular games instead of like the typical, like we talked about in the episode, broadcastiness, the old school way of doing it. It's more fun and loose. So check them out at Colorcast on social media as well. My thanks to Evan for that. Great episode. As always, check me out at Too Tall Sports Podcast. You can follow all my content there. I release episodes on the podcast every Thursday morning on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. You know the drill. Wherever you get your podcast, we're probably there. So check out Too Tall Sports Podcast. Anyway, thanks again for joining me, and I will see you guys all soon for another great episode. Have a good one.